You're on.
Okay, let me call the meeting to order and ask council to move approval of the agenda. Thank you, Councillor Ando and Councillor Ronsley. Any additions, changes? I've got one addition, and that's 9A under resolutions, reassignment of the FOIPA responsibilities. There being nothing else, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to public participation, and I don't have, maybe Councillor Bain, I could just impose upon you. Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Stone?
Thank you. Can you hang on just a second, Mr. Mayor? I have some things I want to pass out to. It's from the BC Community Charter
Thank you.
with regard to council meetings.
You're welcome.
Hang on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think I have one more.
They passed one on to.
No. Oh, we can share. Okay, we can share.
Whatever.
Yes, Mr. Stone?
Thank you, councilors. I'm not really excited about having to talk with this issue for a third time, but it's stuck in my mind, and I think council needs to know the facts and then make a decision as to what the right thing is to do. To act with integrity, righteousness, and honesty, and ethics, which you all took an oath of office to do. Last time, it was intimated that the BC Community Charter allowed for council to make changes in the meeting dates. And I wasn't aware of that particular issue, so I didn't say anything. But I did look it up when I got home. And this is a copy of what it says from the BC Community Charter. So the waters are getting deeper. First of all, it was just a simple error that no one wanted to correct. And that was a violation of the procedure, Lions Bay Procedure Manual, which is bylaw. But now I looked up in the BC Community Charter, and section 125, I just put the page that pertains. And could you read it for us, Mr. Ando, number 3, 125.3?
After the first regular meeting, a council must meet A, regularly in accordance with the applicable procedures bylaw, and B, as it decides and as provided in this act.
Yeah. B refers to special meetings. Okay. Doesn't refer to regular meetings. So
I'm sorry, just a clarification. B is under 125.3B. So
But
it's as it pertains to regular meetings. I'm sorry. It's after the first regular
it
meeting.
does not.
Pardon me, I don't want to be argumentative. I just want to state what's in front of me. 125.4 pertains to special meetings. And I see Mr. Ando's nod there. I just want to make sure that for the minutes, it is stated clearly.
It just says after the first regular meeting, a council must meet A, regularly in accordance with the applicable procedure bylaw, which is first and third Tuesdays, and with reference to meeting. Now, Mrs. Broughton, you're a college graduate. Most of the people here are college graduate educated. It's referring to meet. It's not referring to the regular meeting. It's a general meeting when it says meet. And that pertains to special meetings,
Yeah, I just want to
other than regular meetings.
Yeah, I just want to clarify with Councillor Bain, the time. Okay, and perhaps we can refer this to staff. Thank you very much, Mr.
Madam Mayor, I'm not sure what's,
Yeah.
I just totally disagree with,
Exactly.
with what's being said. You know, we've answered the question a number of times. He disagrees with the answer. Let's move on.
Thank you very much.
The
I've got to, I'm going
The
to.
charter says otherwise.
Yeah, if I
Opinions
might.
don't matter.
Yeah. Thank you very much. We've got the charter in front of us. Thank you very much for providing that.
You're welcome.
My apologies for not reading again the public participation portion, if I may. The Village of Lions Bay Council will begin and complete council meetings with public participation of up to 10 minutes, with each person who wishes to speak allotted a maximum of 2 minutes. Council at its sole discretion may extend public participation to include more speakers. Council has introduced a timer for each 2-minute segment. The council member responsible for timing speakers during public participation each meeting will provide approximately 30 seconds remaining notice to the speaker. When the timer first begins to sound, please complete your sentence within a few seconds and excuse yourself from the podium. Any questions asked during the 2-minute segment will be captured by the recorder. Respectful decorum is expected at all village meetings, etc. Ms. Conlon.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, the draft minutes for approval of the January 14th meeting state that council went in camera under section 91C, labor relations or other employee relations, to amend Mr. McGrady's contract. However, Mr. McGrady is not an employee. His original contract states in section 7 that he is an independent contractor and not an employee of the municipality. When they reported out of in camera, according to the draft minutes, they didn't report what the amendments to the contract were. Can council confirm that A, they made an error in going in camera with this item under 91C? B, tell us the number of working days in the amended contract, and if this number is an increase or decrease. Tell us what the amended end date of the contract now is. Tell us the contract amount, if it's changed, and if so, how has it changed? For example, if he was working more hours, less hours, and it was $10,000 a month, is it now a different figure? And the minutes of January 14th, you're approving this evening. Will they be amended to note the error council made in going in camera with this item under 91C and indicate all the changes in the amended contract with Mr. McGrady's consulting company?
Okay, I'm sorry, your opening comment, Ms. Conlon, I didn't hear what the error was?
91C
No,
section, and it's for
what did it
labor
say?
relations and employee.
No, I heard that, but what did it say that was in error?
He is not an employee.
Oh, and our
He's an
minutes say
independent contract.
employee?
The section says that's for labor relations and employee matters. He is neither.
Oh, so it might be a different section. Thank you very much for your time on this. If I can maybe move us along then.
There's
for,
still more time for public participation. I have something else I'd like to.
Mr. Stone?
Thank you. At the last meeting, thank you, Mr. Bain, the issue of snow removal came up, and after a little bit of research, this is for council's information, because you probably don't know about this, but in 2004, and administration, 2004, there was a contract entered into by the village and the townhouses, the commercial townhouses, based on a payments schedule. I don't have a copy of that 2004 contract, but it must be available. The question is, if that service is being provided, and it appears that it has, what is being paid? Also in 2009, that issue came up, and Mrs. Broughton was mayor at the time, so she probably remembers. And that agreement of 2004 was re-established, which means that payment should be being made by the people who live there or the owners. And the question is, what are they paying? Are they paying? And that's something that council should look into. I've sent a request for information from it, but I think it's important that council members should know that that exists and that it should be looked at and see if the terms are being followed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stone.
Do I still have some more time? 1 minute? Great, thanks. I'd like to get some feedback on the delegation that I made 2 weeks ago about the lack of policing in the village. I know we have a police that will respond, but I'm talking about moving through the village policing. I also like to get a comment as to regard the situation at Brunswick Beach, which I talked about. I'd like to see an update of the response to the resolution to provide guidance to council with regard to the community center and buildings. That was supposed to come in early in the new year, which this is, January, and this is the last meeting. So I'd like to know if there's any kind of update that you can provide to the residents. I'm also interested in the CN, an update or details of what's happened. You probably know in the news there have been 2 CN derailments, one in New Brunswick and one just in Burnaby. And the issue was lack of preventative maintenance. And that should be something that we should get some feedback on. I think the administrator or Mr. Consultant was supposed to contact CN, and let's get some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe this would be an appropriate place for me to just mention for council, as you know, Tim Jones, the head of North Shore Search and Rescue, passed away about a week and a half ago, a week and a bit ago. And each of you are aware. And I've brought a card this evening that I would ask before we leave chambers tonight, if you wish, but if you'd like to sign personally,
Thank
and
you.
we will send it to Mrs. Jones and the family, 5 children,
Thank you for doing that.
and to thank, just send our sympathy and condolences. Thank you. If we can move to adoption of the minutes.
There was no response from council. Council's supposed to respond to questions.
I'm
It's in-
sorry,
it's in
it
the
says
procedure
very
bylaw.
clearly that we will take those questions, they're recorded. Thank you, Councillor
not what the bylaw
Councillor
says,
Bain.
Mrs.
We have
I'm
our
sorry.
responses in business arising from the minutes and the
Yes,
agenda.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you for guiding us there, Councillor Bain. If we can move, and if we could move to ensure decorum is maintained. Otherwise, anybody who doesn't feel they can maintain decorum is certainly welcome to excuse themselves from chambers. Adoption of the minutes, please. Thank you, Councillor Bain, and the seconder. Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin. And any changes, additions, deletions to the minutes? Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin.
Just a very minor one for me on page 8, Mayor Broughton.
Yeah.
The first paragraph about midpoint where the sentence starts, Councillor McLaughlin. Just below Councillor McLaughlin, the term irrelevant is there. I may have said that, but I think for reading it, perhaps it could be difficult to execute for some of the smaller groups.
Thank you very much. Any other changes, additions, deletions? I think, Mr. McGratty, you were going to take care of one.
Yes,
Thank you.
we'll just clean it up.
And perhaps not here. I thought that I had one minor one, very minor. You know, it's later, don't worry about it. So with that, call question on the motion. All those in
Madam Mayor,
sorry.
just as a point,
Yeah.
when I read, we're going into closed,
Thank you.
the lady may have a point. I think we
Ms.
probably
Conlon,
quoted, yes.
Quoted the
Um,
wrong number. It
it
should be
may-
contracts.
Well, it should be under contracts. I
Yes,
think
that's
when we looked at it, it was really, I think when we originally looked at it, labor relations, but, they probably could have been more targeted.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you for that
On
clarification.
that point, what section is it then? If it's 91, A, B, C, D?
I'd have to go and check the charter.
Yeah,
But
okay.
it's
I'm sure it would
appropriate
be
under the
under
charter.
contracts, yeah.
You're probably correct.
Yeah,
Okay, and then the second point is, as Mr. McGratty already knows, we have a copy of his contract as we can any public contract.
Sure, of
So
course.
we know what his
absolutely.
terms are.
Yeah.
So the questions that I asked about, is it up, is it down?
Totally.
I mean, he's
They're
worth
public
every
information.
penny, but-
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, exactly.
Yeah, it's public information. You can get another copy of it.
Yeah, and we're delighted to do that. As per whatever regulations need to be sought. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. McGratty. Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to the business arising from the minutes, and Thank you very much to staff and specifically to Ms. Kuntz and for Mr. McGradu for his review. For the resolution before us, but it is under the business arising regarding YouTube, and to thank the staff for doing an upload sample and for testing it. And oddly, I received my first link today with an invitation to listen to the premiere on a voice only. This is odd that it happened, and it was to do with the TransLink referendum. I listened to it. It was informative. It was not irritating at all that there was no visual. It shows you where you are, just like a YouTube visual. It has a frequency line, and it shows you where you are and how long it's going to be. So thank you very much. Yeah. So if I can just open it up for some moving.
Oh, just a question
Yeah.
on that. Is the reason it's going to audio only just because it's more cost involved with the video as well? Is that the logic?
Oh, through you, Madam Chair, we don't take video. So the only thing we record is on the audio.
Oh, so
and
they
that's
take it
brought
from
up.
there and put it on.
Right.
Okay.
Is that good? So if and there's no cost, and they then check to see if there was a cost link back for having that up, running, listened to, etc., and there was no cost link back, and that's in the report here before us. So if I can have somebody move and second the resolution before us, thank you. Councillor Ronsley and Councillor McLaughlin, any discussion? Call question on the motion, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to the responses to the questions raised by Mr. Stone. And do we need to, these have been sent out, are they?
No, they're on the.
Okay, and so do we need to move a resolution?
Just to receive for information.
Okay, if I can move receipt for information, and could I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Bain, and a seconder. Councillor Ronsley, thank you so much. On receipt, I'm just going to call question on receipt, and then I'll open it up to any questions that you might have. So call question on receipt. All those in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously. This is where I would add under number 2, it's just a little R. Paragraph 2, which is the short paragraph, line 1, and as a trend across Canada, TR. I knew that there was an R hanging out there someplace. So again, thank you very much, Mr. McGradu, for that report back. If I can, with no other comments or questions, if I can move us along through. I'm sorry. Councillor Ando?
In point number 2, I have a concern with regards to the wording. When we're doing land master planning,
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, I think that we're looking at the different types of uses within the village. And when I read, when it says here, the OCP identifies policies and actions that the land use plan will explore, including how to best introduce new forms of housings in ways that both practical and compatible with existing character and preferences of the community. And it goes on. To me, I'm wondering whether it's asking the broad question or whether it's already been determined and it's guiding the direction that we're going with land master planning. So that's where I have a little bit of concern with the wording, whether it sounds like the direction's already been predetermined, and I'm wondering whether that's the case or not, and I'm hoping that it's not.
I just maybe comment here and ask Mr. McGradu to comment, but if there's anything about the wording that sounds rather than descriptive of what we bring forward, which is in any zoning, it would be what kind of zoning types do you want, RS1, RS2, where do you want to put it, that kind of thing. This is more of a description. But if there's any wording change that you would recommend, because when I read it, it is, so I thank Mr. McGradu, it is a painting a picture to the community of the decisions before them, for sure. That's the range in land use master plan. Do you want to add there, Mr. McGradu?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not quite sure what Councillor Ando's question is, because the way I read this and the way it was identified in the presentation by our Bars and Associates, so this is actually a quote from the presentation that they submitted to us, that council did approve. It says that the way, when I discuss this with our Bars and Associates, is introducing new forms of housing, doesn't prescriptive. You know, this could be secondary suites, it could be row housing, it could be carriage houses, it could be smaller houses, it could be row housing. So what this,
Go ahead, sorry.
so what this talks about is really, you know, the sentence that you quoted is how best to introduce new forms. So it doesn't say that will be, but what is the most compatible and practical.
So prior to that, then, are you going to ask, or are we going to ask the community whether they want densification or more housing? And are we only doing that in a public meeting, or are we doing that by questionnaire? How are you going to get a response from the community that you know represents the whole community? Are you only doing that in one meeting or 2 meetings, or is there going to be a questionnaire or some other way?
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not
Thank
sure
you.
if that's a rhetorical question,
Yeah.
because that's already been approved by council,
Yes,
how they wish to roll out the land use master plan. So the approval has been that, and in the budget, is that there's gonna be 2 public information meetings. If council chooses at any time to go beyond that, then they're gonna have to fund additional ways. What was talked about, and when we have, you know, a future committee of the whole meeting, is that we are gonna talk about, and as I mentioned last meeting, how we communicate. And one of the things may wanna do is to look at having online surveys. There could be, and you know, the question of the week or question of the month or something like that. There could be other ways. There could be, you know, Survey Monkey. There could be all types of ways that we can look at it. This is not a big community, so I think there may be other ways. We could have paper questionnaires that could go out. So I think the question you're asking, I believe the question you're asking, is that if any of these are controversial, how do we determine how controversial they are, or how supportive any of these new housing styles may or may not be in the community? And I think, you know, if, for example, if there is desire to come up with any type of form of housing that's not currently existing or expands on what's currently existing, then how does council know that in fact the community will support it or not? And I think once we'll explore that at the first meeting, and then hear what type of feedback we want. So I think it's, you know, what Robert Bars has talked about. You know, we have a very tight budget for this. If we want to go beyond that, then we need to add additional time and money and effort into it. So that's what they proposed, that's what council's accepted. And if we want to go beyond that, then at any time, council can say, you know, we'd like to do more.
So, I understand that now. Thank you for clarifying that. Will we be putting out any information for the residents to see prior to the meeting, so that they have some information so that they can come and discuss it? Or we really don't know, the meeting will determine what the direction that it goes at the meeting?
Through you,
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I think it's a little bit of both. Mostly it's engaging the community, those people who come to the meeting, and determine who isn't coming to the meeting and how we want to secure their information. So, you know, we're talking about putting some type of financial information forward. The intent of and I should go get the proposal if you want me to go get the proposal, because the proposal is quite clear on how they want, how they're recommending and what council agreed to, and how they're going to engage the community. If you want,
Maybe what we can
I can
do
do-
is ask, because that's already been accepted by council, ask Councillor Ando to review it perhaps tomorrow.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And I can go through it with you. The agenda is being finalized now, but it follows very closely to what their proposal was. So I can certainly go through it, and the
Or
intent
send a
will
copy
be,
off, yeah.
yeah, the intent will be is that, we will be putting an update on our webpage, so that people are clear and they can, access our webpage on how we're moving forward. We're trying to get as much information as we can out to the public. So it's, to answer very simply, it's not predetermined.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for those questions and responses. If I can then move us along to the interim CAO's report. And if I can first ask council to move receipt of the report. Thank you, Councillor Ando and Councillor Ronsley. Call question on receipt. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. If we can go along, then Mr. McGrady, are there any, so first of all, thank you very much for the report. Any questions or comments?
If I may just clarify,
please.
the very first bullet is, I think prematurely hired a gentleman. We've run into a few problems at this point in time. So even though I've said that we hired Mr. Discon, one of the things is that the complete hiring process hasn't been completed yet.
Yeah.
So I know that I was certainly hoping that we could actually introduce him, but we've run into some problems. Hopefully they'll be overcome by our next meeting.
Fantastic.
But I think to put the record straight, we have not completely hired Mr. When I wrote this, I hoped that all the paper would be through, but it hasn't been.
So just if we can modify that in the report, the record for the minutes. I have a question just on 2013 budget year end. Anything to update us on?
Through you,
Yeah.
to you, Madam Mayor. Year end is getting pretty close. They're doing, I think we're doing the cash flow analysis now. The interim audit is going to be started this week and completed, I think, next week.
I'm
I believe.
totally impressed.
We are getting close to the year end. The final year end probably won't be completed.
Sure.
We may be about a week or so behind
That makes
schedule, but
sense.
it's getting
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, it's, just seeing what's coming through, it makes sense with that flow.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, excuse
My
me,
questions weren't answered.
I'm going to call
My questions
yeah,
weren't
I'm going to
answered.
call chambers to order, and I'm going to move us along to the mayor's report. Excuse me, please, if we can maintain the quorum, and the outline is that questions are received. So I'm just addressing my comments to council and to the gallery. Questions are received that come before us and noted and responded to from there. So I want to just move us along, please, in the interests of that. And if I can just go to one correction in my own report, and that's the last line of my report. If that whole collection of data that goes across that line can be removed, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. I just want to report out, maybe just given listening to the Premier's radio interview today regarding the TransLink referendum. And this has become quite an issue that I need to begin to report to council on. I can't report specifically because it's an in-camera item of the Mayor's Council, but I can report generally. And we've been asked to report generally. So just so that I can report that to the table, that Chair Walton of the Mayor's Council has asked each of us to speak on this. What I'd say is that the Mayor's Council, has not been in favor of having such a short window to prepare a referendum before the fall election, and does not want to be responsible for the referendum question. The Premier had made an election promise during the provincial election, and in the YouTube link or whatever it is that I listened to today, that the Premier was clear that she would be rethinking the timing. Now, whether that's something just for you to note, and I'll keep you updated, but this is a great movement forward, and we'll be meeting with Minister Stone in the next, if not on the 4th, on the 14th. So just wanted to report to you on that. With regard to the Strachan Point, I should change that to Point just in due respect of their correct name. Strachan Point House Fire. Chief Andrew Oliver and myself and Mr. McGradu and myself have communicated and keeping Councillor Bain in the loop. I've been communicating with Director of Electoral Area A, Maria Harris, and with Chair Greg Moore of Metro. And as recently as today was in email back and forth with Director Harris and had a telephone meeting with her over the weekend. And certainly in support of, I know the perspective that Councillor Bain and Mr. McGradu have also supported, is letting their staff do some research and then meeting, and then Director Harris will meet with the Strachan folks at that point, and we'll look to meet with them probably subsequent to that. What the message that I've given to Director Harris, and it was very well received, was that Lions Bay is not putting up its hand at this point to be the responder. So just I'll leave that there, and we'll probably discuss it more at a further time. So if I can move us along to the Standing Committee on Finance terms of reference, and just let me ask of Councillor McLaughlin, would you like to put this forward as a resolution this evening?
Are there any other
Oh, I'm
reports
sorry.
for the other members?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, there are. Thank you. I'm going through my package right now. So, if I could, with Councillor Ando, just in alphabetical order. Sorry, you're not seeing any further reports. Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin. Anything to report?
No.
Okay, Councillor Bain, thank you.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. It was requested about a emergency preparedness guide of some sort. And the fellow I asked to see about putting something together came up with something that's already made.
This is great.
And it's not exactly specific to Lions Bay, but it is a guide that'll deal with home preparedness and what you can look for. I made a little print copy here. I forwarded it to staff, and staff will see about getting it on the website, and I understand there might be some copies printed for people who don't have computers. Anyhow, it's sorry about my quality of my print. I'm having trouble with printers right now, but it's quite in depth. But it's something that's a little more interactive with a resident rather than a standalone thing, because you've got to fill in your information, for example, your contact information. But the idea is to keep it as a booklet handy for emergencies, sort of what do I do now, while you look it up and you've already pre-planned. So hopefully that will work.
Can I ask you a
Yes.
question about that? First of all, thank you very, very much, and thank you to Mr. Lotet as well. Would that be something that we would start putting up in the village update?
I believe so,
Okay, thank you.
if that works with staff.
Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm not sure the village
Updates.
newsletter you're talking about, or the website.
Well, we could put it up on the website, but maybe an information note
Oh, that-
saying,
mhm,
just saying
yes.
it will be on the website for people, not the
Not the
information.
Right, okay,
Sorry,
okay.
thank you for
Right,
the
yeah.
clarification.
It's a bit
My
much,
apologies. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Please continue.
For
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
residents without computers, we could put it in the newsletter, the monthly one, that if they want to come and get a hard copy, that would
Yes.
do that.
Okay, thank you.
I think that would work.
Councillor Bain?
Okay, the other thing that we've been working on is we had a meeting with evacuation for the whole community, and each time we approach the evacuation issue, we find something else comes up. Like last year, we tried to work it out and found that we can't use the trails because of mobility issues. So this time we take another crack at it and find out that before we do the evacuation plan, we really need to do a hazard risk and vulnerability assessment. And at the meeting, I've been granted permission to move ahead on it and do an assessment of the village's hazards, risks, and work in conjunction with whomever. I'm trying to do it for as least as cost as possible. Emergency Management BC puts out an HRVA toolkit to help you walk through it, so we're not reinventing something at all. It should be pretty straightforward. And I'm hoping to utilize staff minimally as they're available, and being very cooperative. So I hope that will get done in the near future. We're looking at a very short time frame. Hopefully we can have it all wrapped up by the end of April, I think we were talking about. And then we can move on with our evacuation plan some more. But with my my background in the fire service, where I'm very well aware that no fire department engages in any activity without authorization from the local authority. So I would like a resolution, if you could, authorize me to do this in case anybody asks in the future if I'm going off key or off base or something. They know this is the will of council. And so we have prepared a resolution. If I could, I could save it till later if you'd rather, or we could do it now.
I think it's appropriate if the table is prepared to accept it. Really, now is a great time. Can you read it out, please, Councillor Bain?
Okay, I think my preamble is the whereases. So, resolution would be, the Council of the Village of Lions Bay resolves to authorize and support a hazard, risk, and vulnerability assessment, HRVA, to be conducted by Councillor Bain with the support and assistance of the interim CAO and staff. The HRVA will be conducted according to the Emergency Management BC HRVA Toolkit.
Thank you so much. And you're moving it, and can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ando. Any discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Anything else that you'd like to report?
No, I think that would do.
Okay,
Thank you.
so much. Councillor McLaughlin. I'm going to go in alphabetical
okay, sorry.
order. I'm swinging back and forth.
I think on the, just before the terms of reference, but the Financial Committee is potentially going to meet on Monday, February 3rd, with the specific purpose of providing recommendations of potential water and utility service increases to be available for the council meeting on the following day. So that's what's up. That's my
Okay,
committee work.
thank you very much. Councillor Ronsley, welcome home.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be home always. I'd like to just reassure council that the suites revision, if there's to be any, and the committee is going forward, thanks and with gratitude to the office staff, particularly CEO McGrado, for coming up with more research. We had a meeting scheduled for Family Day of all days, which is not a good day for a meeting. And so I'm sorry to disappoint you, David, but we're going to reschedule that as soon as we have more information. Just to reassure everyone, and the village for sure, that we are coming to a point of suggestions, if any, for perhaps how the suites bylaw can be further implemented, perhaps more fair, perhaps create greater safety for the village as a whole. So stay tuned. Regarding bears, yes, they're back. They're not in our village, but they have been sighted because of the good weather, and they are hungry. And we have to keep our vigil and our garbage well protected. And just a short reminder that the bears are hungry, and we have to make sure that we don't feed them in any way.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to move us along then, with that being the completion of our reports, to Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor Broughton. It's regarding reference to Standing Committee on Finance. Council and the gallery have got the updated committee terms of reference, which is, I'll call it item number 8CI. And the quick background on this is that I requested staff, after I reviewed the existing document, and asked that they contemporize the document and amend the committee structure, which they have done. So they put it forward. It's been an opportunity to review it. It's in our packages. Either interim CEO McGregor or I can answer any questions if there are any. Otherwise, I'd put it forward for a resolution.
If you could put it forward for resolution, and then I'll ask for any further
Okay.
comments, if as any.
Be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council approve the Standing Committee on Finance terms of reference before you.
Excellent. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Bain. Any questions, comments? Just my own comment, really well done. Thank you so much. Both of you, Councillor Ando?
Yes, thank you. I see a discrepancy between, on the second page, structure of the Finance Committee, the third bullet and the fourth bullet. The chair shall be the mayor and/or member of council appointed by the mayor. And then the fourth one, the last sentence of the fourth one, council shall make all appointments. So shouldn't council appoint who the chair is rather than mayor, or is that a discrepancy or not a discrepancy? How are normal committees in our bylaws, who appoints the chair? Does it specify, or do you know?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I believe standing committees are appointed by the mayor.
Okay.
The committee determines the chair. I think the committee.
Let me just check.
Not so.
I think while you're looking,
Yes.
Not so.
Councillor Ando, my interpretation of these when I looked at this was the chair shall be the mayor or a member of council appointed by the mayor. So that's an either or.
I see.
To the fourth bullet point, which references membership.
Yeah.
Council shall make all appointments based on recommendation of, could be a council member, could be the mayor, could be the, if it is an alternate, the finance chair.
citizen.
That's my quick skinning on it.
So we need the and in there, and or?
For the
I
third,
think the
third
appointments would
bullet
be the
point?
residents and the,
well, the mayor or, it's either or. It's not and or.
I'm just asking for clarity.
No, it's or.
Through you,
Yes,
Madam Mayor,
thank
actually,
you.
sorry. Sorry, just give me another moment.
okay? No problem at all. Just gonna go back to the main agenda.
Excuse me.
Just as a point, there are a number of items in the procedure bylaw that I will be coming back and making suggestions to change,
Okay, thank you very much.
so that they're very clear.
Okay, thank you. Can I recommend, yes, Councillor Ando?
Can I ask a few more questions?
Yes, of course.
Rules of procedures, are your meetings public?
Yes.
Yes. So, are you, or is staff going to post the meetings prior to the meetings?
Yes.
They would all be de facto
They always
posted,
have.
that's right, yes.
So should that be in this document, or is it just assumed, or it's part of that document?
Let me draw on Mr. McGrado's. I don't know if our other terms of reference have that stated or not.
I think
But
they
certainly
do.
our overarching committee meetings are posted 24 hours in advance or longer.
Posted, minuted, published.
Yeah.
And then are the minutes?
Come here.
Yep.
Do they come here?
They come here before, just as any minutes, before they're posted, they come here for acceptance, and then they would be posted following.
I wasn't able to find that within this document, so that's why I
It's
was wondering.
in the
where-
I think it would be in the macro document, macro about our committees,
I see.
that our committees are posted. Yeah.
Madam Chair, it's actually in the procedure bylaw.
Oh, thank
It
you.
says they will be posted.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Any further questions? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
Abstain? Okay, thank
Madam Mayor, just
Yes,
to
I'm
follow
sorry.
from what Councillor Ando was asking about the pointing. I believe, and I'm, but this procedure bylaw is silent about who, but typically the mayor appoints standing committee chairs. But this procedure bylaw is silent, which is interesting.
Okay. Thank you. I think that the new community charter isn't. At any rate, let's, if I can move on at this point, we can check on it. If we can move to 9A, which is the added item, reassignment of the FOIPA, and the resolution is that the Village of Lions Bay Council approves the reassignment of the FOIPA officer. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, role from the CAO to the office coordinator effective immediately. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that
move that.
resolution? Thank you, Councillor Ronsley, and seconder, Councillor McLaughlin. And any discussion on that? Thank you, Mr. McBride.
Just to give you some background,
Sure.
Ms. Kuntz came to me and asked who should be signing these. And the response was, who's doing all the work? Who has the most knowledge of what's going on?
I
And it
agree.
was Ms. Kuntz. So I said, I don't need to sign those because she's doing all the work. And so
Exactly.
it only makes sense that she
Yeah.
becomes the,
I'm absolutely fine with that.
and I commend her for
Yeah.
taking this on.
Yeah. If I can maybe just comment, years ago when this legislation was first introduced, as head of an organization, I certainly wasn't the officer in charge of this. So just to normalize that decision making. If I may then, call question on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. If we can then move along in the agenda to bylaws, fees and charges, 462. And if I can have somebody move first reading, it doesn't have the readings there, but I think that what I'd certainly ask Mr. McGrady to guide me on this, but I would like tonight likely to do first and second reading on the, it doesn't have the readings there.
It's on page 3.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
page
is it?
3.
Thank you. On page,
I don't see
sorry.
why we couldn't, we can do first, second, and then,
And, oh, here we
Yeah,
go,
right.
and third, yeah.
and then adopt
And then
next week.
final, okay, good. Because it wasn't on the agenda. So, thank you for helping me along there. If I can then call for a mover and a seconder on this, and then we'll call for any discussion and comments. Thank you, Councillor Bain. And a seconder, please.
Second or
A seconder for the bylaw, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ronsley. Are we, this is just for discussion tonight? It's under bylaws?
Madam Mayor, I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure, did you want us to speak to it?
Yes,
I
then
think
we're
that'd
gonna
be
speak
helpful.
to it
After
once.
first reading.
After,
So this is first-
not, just with the mover and seconder, and then I'm gonna ask you to
It's,
speak to it.
okay, but mover, seconder to,
To the bylaw, or is it not, it's under bylaws?
right,
Yeah.
are you reading this the first time then? And then,
Yes.
okay, that's
Yes. So
well
if you
clear.
could then speak to it
Okay,
at
first
this
reading.
point, thank you. So if I can call upon staff then to speak to
Okay,
it.
thank you. Madam Mayor, this bylaw has not been amended for a number of years, and I think you can go through it, that some of these are dating, are actually quite dated. When I first got here, the comments was by all of staff, is that because it had, a lot of this is very old, we are subsidizing this the taxpayers are subsidizing this to a
Absolutely.
great extent. And that at the very least, we should recover our costs. And in fact, that's what the fees and charges requires, that you cannot make a profit. You're supposed to recover your
Yes.
costs on these. But because they're so outdated, we're subsidizing it a lot. And I again must congratulate Ms. Kuntz for taking this on and looking at it and meeting with the lawyer and coming up with it. She's also met with our building inspector, and they've gone through this. This is something that Dave prepared to come and speak to it. He's been talking about that this needs to be updated for, I guess, 2008.
Thank you.
We've had a chat with our fire chief as well, and you can see some of the
Yeah,
comments in here.
notes.
Now, some of these, a lot of them haven't been changed, but some have been changed and brought up. And I think what Mandy's comment was is that let's take small steps and then move it forward. There are a few bylaws in here and through a few applications that should be looked at by themselves. And I talk about the tree bylaw being one.
Yeah.
And there's, the Board of Variance and the amount of work those take. Because even now, they don't come close to covering the costs of some of these things. But it's a good step forward. I think at the very least, they need to be brought up to recover our costs, and then on an annual basis, should at least keep keep in touch with inflation. We should, periodically look at what other jurisdictions are charging, and what it's going to cost us.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we can go through, and I'm not sure whether you want us to go through each one. I think you probably had a chance to go through and ask, and then if you want to ask any specific ones. Mr. Butler's here to answer any of the building ones.
Thank you.
And we'll try to advise you on any of the others.
Okay, let me open it up to the table. I know that I have a couple of questions. If council wants me to just start, unless somebody else has questions prior. Just first of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Kuntz as well for all of the research. I can see the depth of research as I went through line by line. And I appreciated the notations because it helped me understand the logic. For example, the research with Bowen Island under those fees and charges and trying to be reasonable, and the Board of Variance, and I see why that would be a question and why the tree committee would be a question for maybe progressive further review. So really appreciate that, and appreciate Mr. McGradu, your comments right now, because that knocked two questions right off the table immediately for me. I do have one query from page 33. It's page 7 of the report, or of the bylaw. And that's just pragmatic. It's the green waste utility trailer rental, no discussion about the fee at all. But is that per day, per week, per half day, and the composter earth machine rental? Those are both rentals. And so I didn't know whether there should be temporal piece put in there. So that's where I'd almost go first and second reading tonight versus third, which would have to be a pure document. And then to make any changes, we'd have to go backwards before we go forwards. Is that okay? Right. So just, that gives you a little bit of thinking time to make any temporal changes on the rental on page 7. And tree cutting I already mentioned. And I'd also say there was a little, I really appreciated the note regarding the plumbing fee on page 6, page 32 of our package. Would say, if that makes sense to our building inspector, then I'm fine with it. It's about the 5th one down. You're fine. I see you nodding. You're fine with it. I'm fine with it. So those were my questions. Maybe I had more. I have a question, and I think that it's been revised. I think this is the revised number, and it's page 9, where we have 63,500 kilo, the truck size, the vehicle weight. And is that the correct? That's not a ginormous truck. That's it's a big truck, but it's not. It's one that, let's say you were hauling dirt into the community. Would that be the kind of size of truck?
This is bigger than that size.
That's what I wondered, because what I had thought when we were reviewing a previous bylaw is that a comma maybe had got, when we'd taken it from paper to electronic, that maybe we'd put a comma in the wrong place, because when the property, our most southerly property in Calvin Grove on the water side of the highway was developed, we did charge for every heavy truck, which was they were taking soil in there, so it wasn't big tandems or anything. And at that time, so this is not a question that you would almost be able to respond to, except that maybe to compare it with West Vancouver or something like that, because we had put and it may not have been this council, but we put a watch on that weight of truck to see if the comma actually had been in the wrong place. So that may not be I'm not sure. Anyway, so those were my
Thank you.
queries. You're welcome. Anything else? Okay, now, yes, Councillor Ando?
Page 5 of the document. For building permits, I have a question with the last notation. It says building permits are valid for 2 years, at which time a renewal permit is required. Was that existing?
Where are we?
Yes, it
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Council Ando, yes it was.
Oh, right, I
So-
see.
How old is that? So predates 1998? Or earlier?
Is it one?
So, but it's been at least 6 years it's been in use.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Longer than that.
Longer than that. Okay, the next is the Board of Variance. Can you tell me where the costs associated, because isn't that also volunteers that sit on that? So I don't know, can you explain the costs? Or can somebody explain the cost for the
Yeah.
Board of
Board of
Variance, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Butler, for being here this
Welcome,
evening, and
Madam
welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, right now we have a 10% charge for the Board of Variance, which is based on the building permit fee. So the amount of work that goes into the building permit fee and the amount of inspection time that we do, regardless whether it's a carport or whether it's a brand new house, it involves the same amount of time. For example, a new carport that was being built, if it was encroaching into a side yard and it was $28,000, our fee on that would be $29 based on the building permit fee. If we do a brand new house, $650,000, our fee's $360. But the amount of work for both is the same. I still have to review plans, we still have to send letters out to neighbours, we still have front staff that has to do it. Granted, we have volunteers that do the work, but the amount of work that goes into it, plus all the letters that go out, Grant reviews it, I review it, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and for $29 we can't make any money out of it. So, right now, we need to increase that. Bowen Island, I think it's $650.
Yeah, that's correct.
Squamish, same thing. Our fee is so low, it just doesn't cover our costs.
If I can maybe add something to what you're saying, is that in addition to the letters going out, we have secretarial services that are contracted for, that we pay for the minute taking. The meeting is called as a result of that request by a resident. The meeting's called, minute taking occurs, and we bear all of, not only the minute taking, but your own costs, and combined they would be in excess of the
You know, regardless
fee.
of whether it's a small Board of Variance that I'm sending someone to, you know, say it could be a small carport that's encroaching to a side yard, or whether it's a brand new house that's being built that's encroaching, the amount of work is exactly the same. So on one end we're getting $29, and on the other hand we're getting $300 maybe. But the amount of work that goes into it, so we may make a little on one, but we lose a hell of a lot on the other end. Most of the municipalities that we deal with, like Bowen and Squamish, have one set fee, $650. I feel that $500 for a fee on going to the Board of Variance, with the amount of time that staff put in, is quite reasonable.
Huge. I think the confusion, Dave, comes in the public mind that the Board of Variance members are volunteers, so that's nice. But the expenses are not understood.
Are
and I-
professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I welcome this clarification. I would like to get that to be more publicly understood.
And I do send a lot of people to the board.
Yeah, you
And I
do.
got 3 going last month, 2 going next month, so there's a lot of people who go to the Board of Variance.
And Burnaby's would be considerably higher than this, or?
I haven't looked at Burnaby simply because I've tried to keep it within small municipalities, you know, and try to keep it in line with small municipalities like Bowen, what I've been working in the summer months, and with Squamish and Belcarra.
I wouldn't hesitate. I was just in a conversation today, Mr. Butler, regarding something to do with the city of North Vancouver, And it wasn't a Board of Variance fee, but I can assure you the fees I just about passed out with the fees that were being charged for the particular thing that was occurring, nothing to do with myself or my family. But it was, I would welcome anybody to check in with any of the municipalities that the larger municipalities are not charging, I don't know on this specific one, but I would say they're not charging less than,
Yes.
I
See,
think.
a lot of our fees and charges, I said, do go back to 2002, the last time we had so any big increase. And I've been trying to get these increases since 2008. So it's not something that's just kind of pulled out of the hat here. And our minimum fee is $75. Also, we have a fee in there, I don't think anyone's brought that one up, but it's an interesting one, is when we get, when a permit is surrendered and cancelled before any construction begins. So I get a set of drawings in. I've had that new house over there, for example, that's going in, the hotel that's being built on Bibby here. That one there, for example, I've had 3 or 4 sets of drawings for that. It went to the board twice. And yet, there's no fee charged there. So that's why this one here, the alternate, what was it? When the permit is surrendered and cancelled before any construction. So a lot of the times these permits may come in, or apply for a permit, I do the plan check, do the review, spend all that time. Susan puts it all together, it's all typed up, and then someone says, you know what, I don't think we can afford to do it, so then they cancel. So we don't get paid for that. So that's where that particular one's coming in. 50% of the building permit fee we'll take off. So if it's a $300 fee, we take $150. And then they get the whole 100% return for the damage deposit. Right now, we're losing money. So every time I do a plan check and I spend 3 or 4 hours on it, and then someone decides not to go through with that, plans are left on my desk, all the typing's done, we get nothing.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
what we're trying to look at is user pay.
Yes.
And at this point in time, you know, the taxpayers are subsidizing particular individuals. So the whole intent of this is try to get user pay.
Thank you very much. I would say too, one of the principles that I saw in going through was, I think, a principle near and dear to all of our hearts, was fairness. I just saw fairness on every single line, because it's not fair if the general taxpayer is subsidizing a specific interest. But I saw fairness also in trying to make it realistic and user-friendly. So thank you very much for all the work and thought on that. Councillor Ando?
So, I'm wondering about things like locate water shut-off. So, I think someone coming to the village and buying a property and then wanting to know where a shut-off is, there, in my opinion, there'd be a reasonable expectation that the village should know where the water shut-off is. And to have him have to pay $50 an hour to try and find that, I don't know, I'd be a little bit upset, but maybe I'm wrong.
Councillor Bain and then Councillor Ronsley.
I think I can
And I
answer
might
that
even
one
call
from experience, is with the way landscaping goes in most
Yes.
communities, a lot of people don't keep their water shut off exposed. And
Correct.
all you know is it's on the water line, or on the property line of that. And you've got to start using electronics sometimes to find the metal and everything, and it can take a long time if you've got a disturbed landscaping. So it's not a simple thing that everybody knows where their shut-off is. Most people have no idea because they're buried.
It does take a period of time. Councillor Ronsley?
I just underscore the things that Councillor Bain has said. It's not known for the most part in many cases. This is an old community, and it's a geographically difficult community. And I've observed some of this, and you know, it's I'm not talking about my property, but others. It's a big job to find out where it is, and there's a cost to everything. And regrettably, everything costs more and more.
When you've got a works crew in with a machine, who's going to pay for it? You know, the 305 Bayview, for example, I think they were in there for 3 hours trying to find a water shut-off. you know, the cost has to be borne by somebody.
I had a leak on my water line. They didn't spend any time. I put in a new line, and we just tapped in, I believe. And I can't remember how we did that, but because they wouldn't turn off the water. So I don't understand it. Does it depend on how much a resident complains or asks, or how persistent they are, and whether they get the service? Or, I mean, it should be fair for everybody. That's what I believe. So, but as long as everybody's treated equally, I don't have a problem with it. But
You know, if I might say, it did have to do with water connection, the thing with the city today, and it was in the $30,000 range, because the city was doing the work on this particular water connection. It's why it became a topic of conversation. But just to say that anytime we are wanting to work on our line is different from if the citizen is asking us to come in. And I think that that's the difference. Does that make sense to everybody? On the other hand, if a citizen is notifying us that we have a water leak on our side, you know, we're in for that water leak on our side. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah.
Again,
Mr. McGrath,
and I think, through you, Madam Mayor, I think everybody's talked about it, but as Dave pointed out, $50, if we have to go in there with a piece of equipment, I guess it really comes down to is that it's your property. If you don't know where it is, why should we know where it is? You know, if it's simple deal, and it's not going to cost very much. But as pointed out, there is it becomes problematic at times. So $50 when you have to bring, you know, a couple of people in there plus equipment. That's, you know, that doesn't come anywhere near recovering costs. And as you pointed out, it's fairness, because some property owners know what the information is on their property, others don't.
And the only
Yes,
other real
Mr.
big
Butler?
change was the soil and material deposit. We're getting quite a lot of that, again, the new house that's going in. I think there was about 80 or 90 truckloads of soil. We got another one on Periwinkle, the same thing. We charge $50. Kind of $50, you can't even buy a good bottle of wine for that. You know, so we've gone in here and said, lot grading deposit, 150 minimum up to 10 loads, and then $500 for more than 10 loads. That's a big increase from $50.
And that is very fair, because I think that's pertaining to the $40 per truckload that we charged for the lot infill in the most southerly lot in Lions Bay, which paid for the repaving of that road, and it was per truckload. That's why I'm asking us to look at the weight there. So this seems very reasonable, what you put forward.
Those are the real big changes.
Yes, thank you very much.
There's some small ones there in regards to the fees, but that's minimal.
Okay, thank you
Thanks,
very
Dave.
much. I'm going to then go to Mr. McGrath, just to be guided here. We've got a couple of research points here that we could accept pass the first reading, and then maybe have the changes come back as second reading. I think that's the suggestion. I see you're nodding.
Madam Mayor, yes, that's correct.
Thank you. So I'm going to call question on the motion with that in mind, on first reading. Call question on first reading. All those in favor? Opposed?
abstain.
Abstain. Thank you very much, Mr. Ando. And I think we'll leave it as first reading tonight. Would that be the, thank you. Okay. If we can then go on to the repeal of the prior fees and charges. Now, would that be a bylaw or a resolution to repeal?
Madam Mayor, I wouldn't, the bylaw can't be repealed until such time as you approve the bylaw.
Thank you very much. Okay, thanks for guiding me there. That
Or then
makes it
we're in
easy.
trouble.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to take us on to correspondence then, and move receipt of all of correspondence. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Ando and Councillor Bain, thank you so much. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can go to the external letters that have been received. Any question or comment on the external correspondence? Yes, thank you very much. Councillor Bain?
I took a lot of interest in the one about the Provincial Core Review and Agricultural Land
Yes.
Commission. We got the letter from the District of North Vancouver with quite a volume of supporting documents. And I was reading through it, it struck a note with me that I know each town is trying to recover costs and find ways of having a good bottom line. But I agree with the writer here and a lot of the supporting documents that if we continue to eat up, pardon the expression, agricultural land, the cost of food into the whole lower mainland is just going to
Absolutely.
start going higher and higher. And I think for the short-term gain of tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars that each of these communities would get by taking back some of the agricultural land, it is kind of short-sighted because I think for the next generations to come, there won't be much food produced locally. And, like Whole Foods is always advertising, for example, they buy locally as much as possible. And I think if they can't, they're going to change their name to Whole Paycheck. So with that, I would endorse this.
Thank you. What would you like to see as we move forward with that? Would you like to see a resolution that goes out in support of this? Having sat, not currently, but on the previous Agriculture Committee, there were a couple of things that needed to be done, such as not building the 10,000 square foot home in the middle of the 10-acre or whatever it is piece of land. But one of the things that became the subject of this concern was that the township of Langley has its university there, and it's trying to make a university district. And it's where I fully support what you're saying, and I support them trying to create a university district. And it's one of those, they don't have any, they have very little, in the public meeting, they have very little support at the Metro table, but it's that kind of thing of trying to be fair that if UBC was just being developed now, would that land, because they have agricultural land out at UBC, would, where they have the residences, be allowed. It's one of those so that's what, just so that you know, that's what began the discussion. We have Delta coming forward with the Southlands, and I've received only letters of support for the Southlands to go ahead. Now that again is going to be very controversial because it's against the regional growth strategy. I can see Mr. McGrady with a big smile. And probably it's the best deal they're going to get because it's going to leave a lot of farmland. But, this is where, so I'm very happy we need farmland. And we see in today's paper that one of the great agricultural experiments went bankrupt. That just began in, 2012, or I think it was announced in 2012, which is a parking lot downtown, the roof of a parking lot downtown. And hopefully it'll be picked up on, 10-cent dollars or something like that. So agriculture is really moving to all sorts of domains, but would you like to put forward a resolution of support, or?
Well, I would be fine if we made a resolution similar to what North Van District did, which is, if I understand correctly, is almost verbatim of what
Richmond.
Richmond, yeah,
Yes, exactly.
and Pitt Meadows.
Yeah. So if you'd like to move, and we'll ask for a seconder. So you've got in your package on page 49, we could use that. Is that what you've got in front of you as a resolution? Oh, pardon me.
47.
Are you,
49
you're on
49 's a
47?
47.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a
Which-
recommendation.
Sorry, the resolution on page 47.
Yeah, the resolution is on
Okay.
47.
That's on page 47. Thank you for moving it, Councillor
second
Bain,
that.
and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Ronsley. And any further discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously.
Madam Mayor, just as a point, I guess, coming from this, is that, and I'm not sure if this is the time to
Yeah.
have this discussion, but there is a proposal by Delta to come forward to exclude land from the ALR. I know you and I have had this
Yeah.
conversation. But by passing this resolution, I know that you're free to, as the director, to
it
vote
really-
as you choose,
Not be in the
because,
room.
and you're not encumbered by what
Yeah.
council decides. But by this
But it should
council,
direct me in this
this
way.
council has now taken this position.
Yeah, yeah. So with that in mind, thank you for helping direct me to.
Not direct you, just.
Oh,
as a-
no, but I should be in support of the motion. Thank you very much. Or not in the room, one of the two. So I either can help the process, but thank you very much. And if we can move along, thank you for that guidance. Most appreciated. Pardon me, and then from our local, anything from our local, we've got the items, and thank you very much, Mr. McGrady, for identifying some of the actions that have been requested for the signage to go up regarding the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, the signage will go up for the washroom, as well as we will, I've spoken with Will today, and there will be some cleanup for the trees and bushes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Ando?
I want to go back to number 5 if possible. I'm sorry.
Totally. What page are you on then?
This is incoming correspondence from external, number 5.
But what
And what
page?
Would be,
is the seniors?
99.
99, okay.
Oh, sorry, 90. It should be, yeah, 99 is correct.
99, yeah.
So, I'd like to know what this is. Have we ever received this before?
So where are you? Sorry,
I have
where's-
never seen this before,
The
but we did
ombuds.
receive a letter regarding this. Mr. McGrady?
Madam Mayor, the ombudsperson, not man, but ombudsperson, sends I think it's biannual report to all municipalities about what's handled. So I'm not sure if this has ever come before council before, but
I've
I
never
just thought
seen
that
it.
it comes in to all municipalities about what complaints of the office has dealt with.
I see. Because it's very specific between like this one quarter, so October 1st to December 31st. So, have there been others, and do we know what this is about? Those are.
The files themselves are confidential, but this is just to advise that the files, that the two have been investigated and be closed within that period of time.
I see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that information. If we can move along to new business then, organic waste, and I probably put that on this agenda just to set in motion with Councillor Ronsley returning, maybe Councillor Ronsley and Mr. McGrady and I putting our diaries together, and maybe Mr. McGrady, you could look at your diary and what days that you might be available, and just to start in motion how we might start the discussion with our provider or tendering in motion, so that we can be a bit curious about how we would approach this and what kind of information. Ms. Kuntz provided some information on what the City of North End has provided, and specifically what might be provided in Estrada, but it was very helpful. It's a very comprehensive communication plan, and I think that on the sizes and dimensions and that kind of thing, what you need. And I honestly think that that's the basic information that's going to be really helpful for everybody. And then, of course, us reaching for costs, because that's obviously a bottom line. And let me just open that up. Any further discussion on that? But I just wanted to get it into the cycle because, believe it or not, January 1st, 2015 is going to come around pretty quickly. So, okay. Then bylaw enforcement, and this may be already something, Mr. McGrady, you've reported on. Under new business.
Madam Mayor, that was Councillor Ando.
I'm sorry. Councillor Ando?
Just want to bring up a couple of other points that, just for background for the CAO, interim CAO. We used to, or the secretary treasurer on Thursdays, if a person was to dispute a ticket I can't remember if the correct word is screening officer or.
That's correct. Mhm.
So I just want to ensure that that system or process will be in place when when we get a bylaw enforcement officer and start handing out tickets, that needs to be done.
It is in place as we speak.
I'm
I mean,
sorry,
it is in place.
The process, the
The
official
process
process,
is in
we're a
place as-
member of the official.
we're a member of the-
yeah.
But the first step is for them to come to the office on Thursdays between 10 and 3 or something. There's a specific time, and then they can, and then at that
Register their
point,
complaint.
they could argue the case, and the screening officer could make a decision. And if they disagreed with that decision, then it
Then
goes
they
to
go to
arbitration. But we
arbitration.
still need to have that person, and I'm not sure whether you're qualified to do that. And if not, then like former Secretary Treasurer Zaba wasn't qualified, so he needed to go and take a course in order to do that. So I just put it on your radar that it's not just hiring the bylaw officer, that there's other steps just so that we complete the circle, so that we can do the enforcement properly.
Have that,
Right.
yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, that's one of the issues why we're delaying it a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the second was, with our last bylaw enforcement officer, we did have some flexibility that generally on the weekends, we needed bylaw enforcement, or we didn't require it as stringently when the weather was inclement.
Yeah, we didn't have it at this time of year at all.
So, but even during the year, if it was like May, June, and it was
Yeah.
gonna be rain for the whole weekend, then he would not come. And so I don't know whether that's possible to build into the system that you're endeavoring to make,
Good
but I'm
idea.
just giving you some background as to what helped our costing, and whether or not you see that that's being prudent or not, but just giving you background on that. So-
Maybe if I could add something that's just come to my mind based on that. It's where, when we had a local, this is probably going back to 2009, we had the fellow from M Creek. It made it really very simple in that regard, and then we hired, I think, this gentleman that we're considering, another one, and they were just great with that as well. But it's where I think if we are scratching our head on this, it may be where the fire guys, where they can be very strategic because they're here or not here. So just looking at their potential training because of their ability to be, they're already in the community, and so if weather permitting, the weather isn't good, their services aren't needed versus being needed. It may be just one of those roll-ups where we have a multiplicity of skilled roles that they maybe interested parties may be interested in being developed in. Okay, is that everything there? Okay, the next agenda item then
Thank you.
is the agenda format. Mr. McGradu, is that? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Ando. Yeah.
So, in the last meeting, we had 2 resolutions that came, and they were in new business. So one was on the YouTube channel and one was on the feeds or something. And we actually passed resolutions. And so I thought that if there is going to be a resolution with a report, that it should go into the resolution section. Because some people quickly scan our agenda now that it's online. They're able to look at that and they'll say, oh, there's no resolutions being discussed, and maybe they won't come. But in actuality, there are maybe some resolutions elsewhere, and maybe they would have come for those and wanted to hear the discussion on that. So if possible, can we put them into, if there is a resolution to report that's coming from staff, can we put it in the resolution section just so that we are transparent to the community, please?
And to that end, if you are bringing forward a resolution that you do have in type format, if we can have a copy for each of the council members on table. Hopefully it can be not on table, but if it needs to be on table, that's fine. And if we can receive it electronically in advance, that would be great too. But just in that regard, yes.
So just, I can speak to Councillor Ando after, but I believe I know what you're asking for, and I don't see a problem with that. I just want to clarify it afterwards, just knowing what's
Okay,
going on.
okay. I think there were a couple of things that could have been put under resolution, but in the last meeting, that's what I hear you saying, and it's just, I think, a minor, yeah. If I can, though, take us further into the meeting to public questions and comments. Mr. Stone?
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. I have a lot of things that I'm not very pleased about. The questions I asked were very specific, and the answers received generally were very general. I asked very specifically who was responsible for cutting the brush along the right-of-way, and all the answer was, we're in communication with CN regarding maintenance. There was another question also as to what preventive maintenance the CN was doing, and that question was not answered, just that we were in touch in discussion. Those are just general answers. Oh, sorry, talking too loud, but I'm a little concerned. And my other questions also were not properly answered. They were just giving general answers. My questions were very specific. Now, I also don't like the fact that council is deferring to a consultant to answer all the questions. The procedural bylaw states that council will answer the questions, and only when they can to refer. And I'm not going along with that. Now, something came up in the meeting, and I raised my hand, was not recognized, but I would like to suggest to council that maybe all residents should be required to know where their cutoff, water shutoff is in an event of emergency. And maybe should be possibly addressed to the residents to find out how much of a problem that might be. I'm also interested in March of 2012, I came before council suggesting that there would be senior parking spaces at the beach park. Council received that well, but 2 years later, there's still no, for seniors parking at the beach park. Nothing's happened. I also brought forward to council that back in 2007, when I talked in Mr. Wyman's council about putting benches along Lions Bay Avenue for seniors and people walking along there, and that was agreed to in 2007, but it was delayed because of the water infrastructure that had to be there. And this council also expressed their agreement or favoritism to doing that. The water thing is over now.
If you could just, thank you very much, finish off. Just if I could make two comments. One is that we can only respond to questions with the depth of knowledge that we have at the time, number one, with regard to CN. And certainly there isn't a community in Canada probably right now, Mr. Stone, that doesn't join together in concern about those kinds of questions. And I know that I want to thank Mr. McBride for having met with CN in such a timely manner. With regard to benches, any bench that's put in, so for example along the Centennial Trail, those have all been donated. And they've been made, and we do have, we're just in the process of passing a bylaw, and the bench bylaw is in there. So if you know of anybody who'd like to donate a bench, we would certainly then look at the location in that area to see if an appropriate location that isn't a barrier to other things occurring. But certainly that would be the process under the bylaws of Mayor Wyman's day as well, that the benches are contributed to the village. I believe that was under Ann Page when she was a council member in the 90s that occurred, that initiative
budget.
occurred. I might be wrong about when she was, but yes, I'm sorry, Councillor.
No, I'm just saying that that's not in the budget for,
No, it's our policy is that those are donated benches, and so we did receive a donation about 18 months ago, and we added a bench to the Lions Bay Beach Park. So it's not that the village would have been saying yes to paying for the benches, it would be saying yes to considering that location.
You
If
weren't
that-
there, Mrs.
No, I
Brown,
wasn't
in
there, but I know what the
2007.
governing.
And Mr. Wyman and the council there agreed with it, and they just put it
I
off
see.
because of the work on the water pipes. So your reasoning is what you believe, but that is not what occurred, and you might want to check the minutes of
Okay,
that.
I'm just going
time.
with what we're
And what's wrong with
considering.
doing something for the residents, providing benches for people who are walking down
I
Lions
would
Bay Avenue?
absolutely support you making that donation, Mr. Stone.
I'm not talking about
Thank you.
donations. The village has to have some responsibility to the citizens. We pay taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. I'm going to move us in camera, if I may, or if there's no other, thank you. Our fire chief is here. Would you like to?
No.
No? Thank you.
Excuse me,
If
Mrs.
I
Brown,
can, if I
would
can
just like to know when
ex-
my answers are gonna come, my specific questions answered, not just generalizations. I still don't
I'm
have
going
answers.
to, Mr. Stone, I'm going to ask you that when you're in this chamber, you're welcomed to this chamber
But
as
you're
long as you're.
avoiding my
Excuse me,
questions.
Mr. Stone, I'm not being argumentative. I said that we cannot respond to questions with more depth than what we have the answers to at that time.
You have 8 weeks since I've asked those questions.
Mr. Stone, I'm going to ask you to sit down, please.
We have 10
And
minutes here in
excuse
public.
yourself from
In
chambers.
public participation, there's 10
I'm sorry,
minutes.
Mr. Stone, you had 2 minutes, and I'm going to ask you, we're going in camera now. If I can have a council member please move, to move in camera. Could I have a council member? Thank you, Councillor Bain, and a seconder, Councillor Ronsley. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you so much for being present for the public portion of the meeting. We're now going in camera, and we thank the gallery for being here this evening, and good evening.
I also asked regarding the council's response to policing and Brunswick Beach. Received no answer. You just moved right ahead. I think you're being somewhat
We're being consistent.
No,
Any
you're not being
questions asked
consistent.
during
You're
the
being
2-minute
avoiding.
segment will be captured by the recorder.
I know,
I'm
but you're
going to-
supposed to answer the
Mr.
question.
Stone, I'm going to ask you to please respect the decorum of the gallery.
When will my questions be answered?
I think he should be excused.
You didn't give any response at all.
Through you,
Thank
Madam
you,
Mayor.
thank you.
You may not like the
Okay.
answers, those are the answers. Unless council directs otherwise, those are the answers.
Since when was Mr. Consultant become a member of council that he can give opinions on the part of council?
Mr. Stone, the next time you're in this chamber, I expect full, respectful deportment, and I do not expect to have to call upon the very group that you're asking me to call upon, the RCMP, to join us at the next meeting. If I could, please ask you to respect decorum and
But
just-
you're avoiding.
We are in camera.
No, you're not, because
We
you
are-
didn't-
we have
you did
just
not
moved-
read the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you very much, I'll
Yeah,
stand
sure.
corrected. The resolution is that the regular meeting of, that's fair enough, I'll stand corrected. That the regular meeting of January 28th, 2014 does close this meeting to the public on the basis of matters to be considered under the following section of the Community Charter. 90.1, a part of a council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to or is one or more of the following. A, personal information about an identified individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality. Thank you very much. And I've called question on the motion. If we, is that fine with council? Thank you very much. And we are now in camera.
You
Mr.
didn't
Stone?
move. You didn't move for a
I
vote.
had moved and
Come on,
I
Mrs.
think the
Brown.
rule is
I-
that.
Councillor Bain and Councillor Ronsley.
Pardon me?
Councillor
Thank
Bain
you.
and
Councillor
Ronsley.
Bain and Councillor Ronsley had moved and seconded the motion, and council had voted on the motion. Thank you very much, Mr.
didn't
Stone,
see
for
it.
your...
Excuse me, I'm advised
Yeah.
that when we are in camera, the rule is that we are in camera and you must.
Yes, but you have to move to
It's
be
all
into
been
camera.
moved.
It wasn't voted on, it was just read.
Let's
Come
vote.
on, you know better
We
than that,
voted
Mrs.
earlier.
Okay.
No, you didn't.
We voted earlier, but we can certainly have the vote again. I see the mover was Councillor Bain and Councillor Ronsley, and call question on the motion again. All those in favor of going in camera? Opposed? Carried.
Delete.
No, don't. I was...
Keep going.
Okay, we are now in open, and we have 2 reports back to open. Councillor McLaughlin on Budget and Finance Committee appointments.
Thank you, Mayor Broughton. Two pieces. One, we're happy to announce the inclusion of Mr. Bruce McGregor to the Standing Finance Committee, and also the extension of appointments of the two existing members, Kim Maley and Pat Smith, for a further 2-year term.
Thank you so much. And Mr. McGradu?
Madam Mayor, that council has approved the Village of Lions Bay change in the 2014-2015 property and building insurers from RSA to Northbridge Insurance at a cost of $20,156 as proposed by Aon Reed Stenhouse, and that council directs interim CEO to obtain additional insurance quote information.
Thank you so much. If I can then move to adjournment. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Ando.
Sure.
Councillor Ronsley. Call question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Now, may I ask, would everybody